Can everybody hear me in the back? Good. Because otherwise you wind up with this because I keep taking it away from my mouth every time I say something. Welcome to How to Avoid Bad Writing. Before we get into it, this isn't a panel on how to get proper Google search results. It's how to write without it sucking. My name is Richard Schaefer. I'm the founder and webmaster of Tekko2015. It's not as dirty as it sounds. It's a play on words. It's Richard, named after my grandfather Dick. Dick Jutsu. Jutsu is Japanese for way or style. It's Richard's style. If you want an actual porn name, go to the guy I was named after, Dick Pierce. I'm also the co-founder, writer, and head developer for a little indie game company, Nick3 Entertainment. A manager of HR there. And I'm also the chief tech staffer on writerschatroom.com.
Sorry. Just keep going. Or?
Those are the two titles we've made, Nick3 Entertainment, Dynasty Heroes. If anybody's into Dynasty Warriors, it is a parody of that in loose, vague RPG form. Like I said, chief tech staffer. I also run the forum. And there's my book called Escort. It's available since the 1st. Scatter through the room with bookmarks. If you don't have one, we can get one to you before you leave. Bookmarks are free, books not.
It's usually how it goes.
Alright, now, first of all, this is not a lesson on how to do good writing, because good writing is very subjective. If you're in the mood for science fiction and you pick up War and Peace, regardless of how good it is, it's not going to be good writing, even at that particular moment. If you don't like historical fiction, you will not like War and Peace. Bad writing, however, is universal. If you were in the mood for science fiction and you pick up a terrible science fiction book, it will be terrible to you. We're going to be discussing cliches, different tropes. Remember that a cliche is a trope that is way overused. All kinds of different things. And closer to the end, we'll show you a little bit how to develop more realistic characters, because ultimately that is what drives good fiction, even good non-fiction. I've been kind of somewhat addicted lately to a Stephen Turnbull reference book, because stories of the medieval period, and he takes one thing Stephen Turnbull's good with is taking very personifiable characteristic to his history. So even though he's giving you a broad history of England and France, he's telling you all about, all these different people and their stories, De Westland, King Edward. It's interesting, even though it's a reference book. So I'm a nerd, I love reference books. First thing we're going to get over is allegory. It is the representation of an abstract or spiritual meaning through concrete or material forms. Figurative treatment of one subject under the guise of another, a symbolical narrative. It comes from the Greek word allegoria, to speak as if implying something else. Good example of an allegory is Plato's Allegory of the Cave. It tells you right there, it's in the title. The story of the Allegory of the Cave is a bunch of prisoners are chained together with facing a cave. There's a fire behind them. The only thing they have witnessed in their entire lives is the shadows of the people on the wall. All the people behind them, there's shadows on the wall. And the story is each one of them comes up with an idea of what they think the real world is outside of the cave, based on these shadows. It's an allegory for the lack of knowledge and misinformation. People who are ignorant and don't know anything will just come up with the grandest idea they can think of. Another one, if you've ever seen the movie The Deer Hunter, it's a little bit older movie. Russian roulette plays a big part of it. Even though, during the Vietnam War, there are no recorded cases of Russian roulette ever being forced upon prisoners. But it's an allegory to dehumanizing your enemy in the face of defeat. In order to defeat an enemy, a lot of times in war, dehumanize them. It's hard to send humans to go fight other humans and murder them unless you convince them that, hey, these aren't real people anyway. Oh, alright, let's go shoot them. A bad example B movie I watched some years ago. I don't remember the title. I didn't care to recall it. I didn't bother looking it up because it was that bad. It's a group of hunters going through the Iberian forest. Iberia is Spain, Portugal, all that. In one scene, they're attacked by a lion, and the main character's father is eaten by the lion. The whole movie was an allegory for this guy's life story. The lion, Leo, Zodiac, represents the sun. The lion attacking his father died of skin cancer. This is a really stupid story, because there are no lions in Spain. The Grey, Liam Neeson, that movie is all allegorical. Wolves don't exactly act like that, but it's an allegory for how much life sucks, or something like that. Mary Sue's and Gary Stu's for the male version. It's a slightly debatable term. You go on different places and you'll find different exact definitions, but essentially it's a character. It doesn't have to be fan fiction. There's plenty of original, works, but a character that's just too great at anything or everything. Actually, you'll find this a lot in anime or manga. May not even be the main character, just somebody that's just amazing no matter what they do. Too perfect to really exist. Someone that has the perfect physique even though they never work out. They know the answer to everything even though they've never picked up a book. Or the person that, they've never been in a fight before and someone hands them a sword and they're just defeats everybody around them. Or they're just too well liked by everyone. They have no discerning feature that's fantastic, but everybody's just madly in love with them and wants to be their friend. Filled with a natural talent that overshows the experienced masters of all things. Like I said, somebody who's just given a sword. If anybody's ever seen Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, the girl character there, the one that steals the sword in the opening, she is a Mary Sue. She is able to defeat the master of the temple dojo later on in the movie simply because she just has natural talent and a fantastic sword. The fact this woman has 40 years experience means nothing against this little girl. It means nothing. Where they have unnatural physical capabilities or features. I believe, what's it called? Alexandria syndrome or something like that. White hair, purple eyes. It went through the internet that everybody believed that it was a real thing. It was something that a woman came up with for her fan fiction. And it's a Mary Sue characteristic. Completely hairless, except for the top of their heads and their eyebrows. They have purple irises. Just unnatural. Often a Mary Sue or a Gary Stu is an author avatar, which an author avatar itself isn't necessarily a bad thing. But whenever you put yourself into the story, if you're going to create an author avatar, a good way to do it is look at what you're good at and increase that to the level where you can be the hero of the story. But also look at your flaws and increase that to the level where it's just insane. One story that I've written, it's not published. The main character is kind of an author avatar for me. Now I have arachnophobia. He has severe arachnophobia. If there's a spider in this room, even though he's an experienced soldier, he could, pick a nickel off of a barn at 500 paces, but if a spider lands on him, he will crap his pants.
Yeah, because you won't.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't. Good examples of author avatars. John Arbuckle was an author avatar of Jim Davis. If you read anything Garfield, you have seen how much of a mess John Arbuckle is. That was Jim Davis putting himself in there, and that's a good example. Alan Wake, if you've ever played the Alan Wake games, Sam Lake wrote it. He's the same guy that wrote Max Payne. Alan Wake is a very clear author avatar. He's a writer, like Sam Lake, who's basing everything off of another writer. Bad examples, Rayford Steele and Buck Williams from Left Behind. They're stand-ins for the authors Tim LaHaye and Jerry Jenkins. Both of those guys are overweight, out of shape, have no combat experience. These author avatars are Rayford and Buck. They're physically fit, they're great, at everything. And they're just them imagining, what if we were actually good at something? Let's write that. If anybody likes Twilight, you should probably leave now. Bella Swan and Melanie Strider are stand-ins for Stephanie Myers. You may even hear often that Melanie Strider is a spoonerism of Stephanie Meyer. By definition, it's not. Spoonerism of Stephanie Meyer would be Methany Steyer. But you get the idea of why that comes up. Either way, she wasn't very, original with the name. If you've ever seen Garfield minus Garfield, it's the story of John Arbuckle. The top one is from the actual site, the bottom one is my own attempt because I was bored one day. And apparently I have a toast fetish.